I've previewed an image on my scanner that is severely faded on the right side of the image. This particular software has several dialog boxes to help me set up proper scanning. One key box gives an option between photo and document. I'm selecting photo. Document would be used to get a bright white background for text documents, and that would wash out a photo. Next, I'm looking at DPI, or dots per inch. There are many options, and this can be a little confusing. 300 DPI is what we would call a one-to-one scan, meaning you are digitizing a photo or negative at the same size that it is currently. In this case, my image is only 4:6, so a 300 DPI scan would prevent me from making any enlargements later, or doing things like printing it in a photo book at a larger size, etc. Most software will give you a preview of the file size in terms of megabytes that the scan will produce. A 600 DPI scan of this image is like creating an 8:12 enlargement, or about 23 megabytes. Notice that a 300 DPI scan was only just under 6 megabytes. A 1200 DPI scan at 4:6 inches would create roughly a 16:24 finished size, or the ability to go that big if you wanted. We'll stick with an ample 600 DPI scan today. Now let's focus on the faded side of this image. This software gives us a graph that we call a histogram. A histogram for a digital picture shows us where the color information exists in the image, and it's on a scale from dark to light. This image has a heavy spike in the highlight range, telling us what we already see in the image. A very faded half, but a half that does contain data. If we're not careful, we could easily lose this recoverable data in scanning. The sliders under the histogram will help us recover this data. A scanner will naturally cut in on both sides of the histogram to try and create a nice white background and create a pleasing contrast, but in this case it's eliminating something very important. As the cursor here is moved from left to the right of this highlight data spike, look at the difference on the preview screen. We'll set it all the way to the right to capture as much detail as possible. And we don't want the shadows to block up to total black either, so we'll adjust that side as well. And we'll adjust the whole image in editing software in just a minute. I'll select Scan and I'll name my file. I'll select a TIFF file output, which is an uncompressed file, which takes up more space but is really great for archiving. Now let's scan a comparison file with the highlight data trimmed on the histogram, something that may very well be happening at home for some of our listeners. Both images are opened in Photoshop, and let's examine the clipped comparison file first. With a highlight contrast adjustment, you can see there's not much salvageable detail. On the original scan that was histogram adjusted, there's a totally different outcome. Let's toggle back and forth to see the results. Find out what tools your scanning software has on board. You might find a histogram adjustment tool. You may have contrast, brightness, or density controls. Whatever you have, learn to use the tools at your disposal to achieve the best possible archive scan.